Why, hello there, young ones. Today I've got a very special story for you. You see, in the beginning, when there was absolutely nothing except a big ball of brown muck, there was this God. And he came down, and he was in the muck, getting all dirty in it, messing up his God clothes. And he took some of the muck and got his hands real messy. And he formed a man out of the muck. And he thought this man was pretty cool. And he set him down. And then what God did is he built this amazing garden full of beautiful fruit trees and wonderful flowers. And out of this garden, great and mighty rivers flowed out. And it was beautiful and wonderful and peaceful. And God took this man that he made out of the muck, and he placed them in the garden because he loved the man, and he wanted the man to experience some wonderful paradise. But alas, the man was sad. God looked down at the man. Then he came over to him and he saw in his eyes that there was something missing for the man. "I've got it," said God. "The man is lonely. I don't blame him. But what I do have is the ability to make it better." And so God brought forth from the ground, from the land, all these wonderful, beautiful animals. And he wanted to just give them to the man so that the man had someone, had something. And God said, "Hey, man, look at all these animals. Do me a favor and name them." And so he did. The man saw one with a giant trunk, and he said, "Elephant." And then the man saw one that went, "Hee-haw! Hee-haw!" And the man said, "Donkey." And then the man saw one, and it was like, "Roar, roar." It's got a nice shell on its back, green skin, and the man was like, "I'm gonna call you a turtle." And so the man spent many, many days listing off each and every animal and giving each and every animal a name. But unfortunately for the man, there was no one there among the animals that could really be a suitable partner for the man. And God looked over at his friend that he made, and he felt sorrow in his heart. But he had an idea. "I know what I'll do." So he put the man to sleep. Just a deep enough sleep so that the man wouldn't notice a secret operation. Which, nowadays, pretty creepy, but back then, it was cool. So God went in, and he took a rib, special bone that comes from the side of humans, and he formed a woman out of this rib. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret here. It's not really included in the original stuff. But God didn't take that bone from the back so that women would go behind man. God didn't take that bone from the front so that women would go ahead of man. God took it from the side so that man and woman would walk as equals. Well, the man woke up and he saw this beautiful woman there. And he was very happy indeed. They were both naked, but even though they were both naked, they felt no shame. They were not feeling bad about who they were inside. I wish that was the end of the story. Unfortunately, God had one single rule in his beautiful paradise of a garden. He said to the man, who was supposed to say to the woman, "You can eat any fruit here in this garden, but do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil." Well, unfortunately, I don't think the man really stressed that enough to the woman. And so, when the snake came, craftier than all the other animals, he slithered up and he said to the woman, "Did God really say can't eat from that tree?" The woman's like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, he did. And then the serpent was like, "Well, here's the thing. I don't think he meant it." And the woman was like, "Yeah, I think he meant it. If I eat from it, I'm going to die." The snake said, "You won't die. If you eat it, you're going to know stuff like God. So go for it. Take a bite. Won't hurt." The woman thought about it. She wasn't stroking a beard because most women don't have beards. Pretty sure this woman didn't. But I do, so I'm stroking my beard. She thought, this fruit does look pretty good. You know what? I think I am going to have some. She went up, she grabbed the fruit, she pulled it down, and she tore it in two. It's a very mushy fruit. And she gave half of it to her husband, the man who was with her the entire time. And the man took it. He knew what it was. And they both ate the fruit. And their eyes were opened. And they looked at each other. And they looked at themselves. And they realized they were naked. And that's when they felt bad about who they were. That's when they felt shame. Was disappointed God. He knew about all things. And he loved his people, the two of them that he created. So he walked in the cool of the evening while the two humans, the man and the woman, sewed fig leaves to cover themselves up. "Man," God said. "Woman," he again spoke out loud. "Where are you? Please come to see me." "We can't," they said. "We're naked." "Who told you you were naked?" This is the most troubling thing. It's very hard when we've done something wrong to admit that we've done something wrong. But it's always important to tell the truth. This Adam and Eve knew well within them. And so they told the truth. "Well, we kind of ate from the tree you told us not to." "Who told you you could eat from that tree?" Adam did not want the full brunt of responsibility. So instead of, doing the right thing and taking responsibility for the fact that he didn't really give so much importance to what Eve was saying, he instead went and pointed to the woman. "She told me." And then God looked to the woman, and she didn't want much of the responsibility either. And so she pointed to the snake. And she said, "Well, he told me." And the snake, well, he didn't really have anybody to turn to. So all his craftiness was for naught. And so God was perplexed. He did know what he had to do. He couldn't let them stay in the garden. He couldn't let them taste from the other tree, the tree of life. Not while their eyes were open to things that they just couldn't truly understand. And so he had to let them leave the garden. He had to force them out of the garden. And he took an animal, and he took its skin, and he made clothes for the man and the woman. This broke God's heart, but he knew one day it would all be better. I know what I'll do, he said. I'll come down myself one day. Just like I had to put an animal down in order to make their clothes, I'm going to put myself down in order to cover up their mistakes, so that one day they can eat that sweet fruit of life. Then God put angels at the entrances of the garden so that man and woman couldn't walk there anymore. Well, this is a tough lesson for us to hear and to listen to. On the one hand, it sets up a competitive nature in us where, we're always shifting blame from one person to the other. It sets up God as being this merciless being of a complete hatred. It takes away from who we are as a people, and it just makes us seem so much less. But there's always a bright side. Well, maybe not always, but in this case there is. Little while later, in fact, a few millennia later, there came a guy who was God, and he did exactly what God said he would do. He laid himself down to cover up our mistakes. And so one day, if we cooperate with one another and love one another, and we turn towards this one God, one day we'll be recreated in a new garden. The world will be reclaimed, and all will be well. Not so much for our benefit, but for the benefit of the goodness that is the world. I hope you've enjoyed this story. I hope you have a great time with whatever you're going to be doing. Thanks for listening to me.